So this is a very weird story. And the oddest thing about it is how this David DePape guy got into the Pelosi house in the first place. And you have to consider the fact that if something happens to the president of the United States, she's second in line. So it's vice president and then her. So that makes the Speaker of the House an incredibly important person. And I know that she wasn't there when this happened, when this event happened. She was off somewhere else with her security detail, but how could there not be a constant, very strong 24/7 security detail at that house, whether she's there or not? It's a matter of national security. I mean, you don't want people to be able to go in and maybe leave listening devices, for instance, just, for counter-espionage reasons. I'm sure there's a lot of people in intelligence services around the world that would like to know what she's saying in her house. It seems unthinkable that somebody could get into that house, that somebody could get past the security. Never mind, some San Francisco mentally ill nudist. It just doesn't make sense. It makes zero sense. And what would make more sense would be that he was let into the house. And that's not what I'm saying actually happened. I'm just saying that would make more sense than, somehow this drug-addicted nudist somehow managed to get past all the security, which I'm assuming has to be there, and broke into Nancy Pelosi's house. And that may be what happened, but the security lapse would have to be truly catastrophic for that to happen. It doesn't make any sense. And the rest of the story around it is a bit odd as well. Here from the Post-Millennial, Paul Pelosi sounded somewhat confused, referred to attacker as friend during 911 call. Let's listen to this. This is the police dispatch to the Paul Pelosi home.
Northern 4 car, A priority 910, 2640 Broadway, cross of Scott and Normandy. Hey, 14 hour copy. RP stated that there's a male in the home and that he's going to wait for his wife. RP stated that he doesn't know who the male is, but he advised that his name is David and that he is a friend. RP sounded somewhat confused. Is a friend. RP sounded somewhat confused. 12 over back and copy.
So he sounded somewhat confused. He referred to the guy as a friend. Now, that could be explained. He didn't want to alarm this David DePape. I mean, there are reasons why he would say that, but we don't really know. So that is just speculation. It says, during the home invasion, DePape apparently allowed Pelosi to use the bathroom, leading to the 911 call where he referred to DePape as a friend. It is unclear whether Paul Pelosi was trying to say that he was his friend or Nancy's friend. Now, immediately in mainstream media, this was the message. The suspected attacker has espoused extreme right-wing views on social media, including conspiracy theories about the coup, according to one of the law enforcement officials. And this is a writer for the Wall Street Journal. But there's other details as well about him. Includes a history of activism for left-wing ideology and nudist causes. Yes, he was a nudist. Let's see, an NBC Bay Area reporter wrote on Friday, FBI visits Berkeley home tied to Pelosi beating suspect. The Victorian is dubbed a hippie collective by neighbors. Let's go to Michael Schellenberger. He actually went and talked to a bunch of people, and he wrote a Substack article on it, but just for the sake of concision, we'll just go through his Twitter thread here. The media are portraying the suspect in the attack on Nancy Pelosi's husband as a man fundamentally driven by right-wing ideology. But it's obvious to anyone who looks that what drove David DePape to violence was drug-induced paranoid psychosis. Neighbors described him as a homeless drug addict with a politics that was, until recently, left-wing, but of secondary importance to his psychotic and paranoid behavior. And as I discovered yesterday, DePape lived with a notorious local nudist in a Berkeley home, complete with a Black Lives Matter sign in the window and an LGBT rainbow flag, emblazoned with a marijuana symbol hanging from a tree. Well, there's the flag with the marijuana symbol. Okay. Here's a quote from a neighbor. What I know about the family is that they're very radical activists. They seem very left. They are all about the Black Lives Matter movement, gay pride, but they're very detached from reality. They have called the cops on several of the neighbors, including us. It's really weird to see that they are willing to be so aggressive towards somebody else who is also a lefty. And he says that a closer look reveals the characteristics of a homeless encampment, or what Europeans call an open drug scene. He says that not all of the news media missed DePape's history of drug use, psychosis, and homelessness. CNN reported that a woman named Laura Hayes, who said she worked with DePape 10 years ago, making hemp bracelets, said he had been living in a storage shed. Quote, "He talks to angels," she said, and told her that, quote, "there will be a hard time coming." Another woman, Linda Schneider, told CNN that she got to know him around 2015 and that he was still homeless, living in a storage unit and using hard drugs. Says wrapped up in their obsession with MAGA Republicans, journalists have missed the real story. He is not a microcosm of the political psychosis gripping America in general. Rather, he's a microcosm of the drug-induced psychosis gripping the West Coast in particular. So a mentally ill drug addict with a very strange and confusing past. But again, I return to the fact that the weirdest thing about all this is how he got into that house in the first place. That we've seen images of the broken window at the house. But, 3 o'clock in the morning, there's no other sound around. You would hear a window being smashed. You'd think surely that would alert the security that must be around. And here from Politico it says, David DePape forced his way into the home through a back entrance. Officers arrived at the house, knocked on the front door, and were let inside by an unknown person. Then they discovered DePape and Pelosi struggling for a hammer. So who was the third person in the house? Did they not hear a window getting smashed at 3 o'clock in the morning? Who's this third person that's in the house? It just gets weirder and weirder, doesn't it? It's just very, very strange. And again, I'm not pushing conspiracy theories here at all. I'm not saying that I know what happened. It just seems like the security would be very strong for Nancy Pelosi's house, considering her position. It just seems weird that somebody would be able to break in. If it turned out that this guy had been invited into the house, I wouldn't be that surprised. It would seem to make more sense than somehow he broke in to Nancy Pelosi's house in the middle of the night. I just think the whole thing is very, very weird. Anyway, please subscribe, like, and share. Sharing really helps me out. I thank you for that. I will see you next time.